I can't stop thinking about Punk, and I can't stop thinking about Roman, and I can't stop thinking about Cody, and I can't stop watching this garbage product. Listen, guys, Raw tonight was absolutely it was kind of decent. It was decent, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't bad, it wasn't good. It at least had more good than bad, I should say. There were some things that were absolutely atrocious in this show, but there were also some things that were pretty average or above average, you know what I'm saying? So I'd much rather have a situation like this than a situation where we're watching absolute bore-fest, snooze-fest garbage for 3 hours, even though there were elements of that inside of this show. So far, I think it's decent, but the more we break this down, it might get even worse. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the Raw review. That rhyme, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah, now let's start off with the first thing. CM Punk basically comes out and says the generic CM Punk stuff. Isn't it a great day to be in San Jose, California, or what? You know what I'm saying? The usual garbage. CM Punk basically talks about and references John Cena and the fact that John Cena, said he's going into the Royal Rumble. And CM Punk basically brings up the fact that, hey, I know you, John Cena. I can see you. I've been able to see you my entire career. Nice little play on words. And he basically says that he's entering the Royal Rumble as well, and regardless of people like it or not, he's going to throw, John Cena over the rope. He's going to throw everybody over the rope and win the Royal Rumble in order to get that Mania main event and win World Championship gold. That's basically the long story short. And then Seth freaking Rollins comes out. Seth Rollins is obviously pissed off, you know what I'm saying, after last week's absolute disaster where he pretty much got pinned after 2 GTSs, even though he hit like 3 GTSs and 2 or 3 curb stomps and 2 pedigrees, and it wasn't enough. CM Punk no-sells a superplex and hits him with a GTS. But anyways, Seth Rollins basically does this. He comes out and he tells CM Punk, I'm obviously pissed off. I've lost Mania matches. I've lost main events, but this is the worst loss and most disappointing loss of my entire career. And CM Punk is like, yeah, well, winners win pretty much. CM Punk talks about how he's a winner like 80 times during this promo, so that's really all he has to offer. Seth Rollins basically says that, I don't want to be, if I lose, that's fine, because I don't want to be like you if you're a winner, you know what I'm saying? The worst version of myself is still, Seth Rollins says, I'd rather be the worst version of myself than be anything like you, which is a pretty good bar. And then Seth Rollins basically says, now that I didn't beat you in that match, basically the next step is going to be for me to make sure that you don't get what you want, which is to win the Royal Rumble and get that Mania main event and win a world championship. So now Seth Rollins' vendetta is going to be to stop Punk from winning a championship and to stop him from winning the Royal Rumble. So Seth declares that he is going to be in the Royal Rumble as well. And then we get Drew McIntyre, because I can't stop thinking about Punk, and he comes out and he's basically complaining like he usually does. He's talking about CM Punk and Rollins and how annoyed he is with them, and CM Punk basically is like, the last time you saw me, I had you needing 15 stitches to sew your head back together. If you come over here again, you're gonna need a lot more than 15 stitches. Some corny stuff like that. The 5th grade promos that just are plaguing this company right now is just a very small portion. This is actually a very small portion of it, I should say, because what we see later on in this show is absolutely disastrous when it comes to promos, and we're gonna talk about that later. However, pretty much Drew McIntyre comes out there to basically say the same thing. He's going into the Royal Rumble as well, and he said that last week, Seth Rollins, the fact that you didn't go out and try and stop Roman Reigns from, taking that Ulafala back and getting the power back is absolutely pathetic, and he calls Seth a traitor, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. And then Drew McIntyre basically proceeds to, like I said, he confirms he's going to be in the Royal Rumble this year, and he acts like he's walking down the ramp to go fight Punk and Rollins, and then Drew McIntyre's like, no, why would I waste my time on that? I'm headed to the Royal Rumble and I'm going to win and I'm going to beat you, Punk. And that's basically that. That's the end of this segment. I guess they're trying to build hype for the Royal Rumble that's coming up, obviously. But to be fair, they can build up as much hype as they want. In all seriousness, Seth Rollins and CM Punk are going to probably have 2 more matches, and the third one will probably be at Mania. I could see neither of them winning a championship in the near future. And quite frankly, Drew McIntyre will probably be fighting Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship, or like Andrade for the U.S. Championship at Mania. This dude doesn't really have any pressing feuds that are really going to get in the way of pretty much anything, right? And Drew's still upset and complaining about Roman Reigns, and at this point, I'm tired of the complaining about Roman Reigns. It's not his fault, right, that these other people couldn't do anything when he was champion. The big goal of Mania 40 was to get Roman Reigns off the mountaintop. He lost the championship, and these people are still not satisfied. I'm like, what do you want him to do? Leave the company? Like, what?
Seth Rollins is like, oh, well, Roman Reigns, he's back in power now. I'm like, dude, what do you want him to do? You know what I'm saying? It's tribal combat for his own bloodline's Ulafala. Like, what has Seth Rollins been fighting for the last year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Just, I don't understand this nonsense. It makes absolutely no sense. Everyone's just complaining about Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre had a chance to beat Roman Reigns. And yes, Solo cost him. You know what I'm saying? Solo cheated and Roman Reigns cheated and got the W. But you could have still rematched him. You probably wouldn't have won anyways the way things were being booked. So, you can't get mad. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Roman had a bloodline behind him and he wasn't losing any matches for 4 years straight. You just have to accept it and deal with it. It is what it is. The complaining about what this dude has done to the industry and how he's holding WWE hostage and stuff like that, it's crazy because Gunter has been holding the World Championship hostage for like 5 months and Cody's been holding the WWE Championship hostage for like 10 months. So, it doesn't really make any sense. Everyone's complaining about Roman Reigns. What about Cody Rhodes and Gunter holding these titles hostage, not defending their belts, not cutting good promos, and not doing anything to advance storylines or advance the business at all? At least Roman Reigns is advancing the business. These dudes are regressing the business. They're taking Roman Reigns' schedule, but doing 1/10 of the quality that Roman Reigns was giving us during his championship reign. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyways, now let's get to the next thing, which was the debut of Penta. Penta basically comes out, he does his Zero Mieda, you know what I'm saying? So he goes out there and does that. He has a pretty cool entrance. He's like in front of this like fire pyro, which is pretty cool. They zoom in on his mask. You can see all the makeup and everything in the mask itself. Pretty decent attire. And he goes out in the ring and he's fighting against Chad Gable. Now, Penta, I have seen like a little snippets of other work that he's done. I genuinely didn't really I had an idea that Penta would be the one that would come out and fight Chad Gable tonight, but like I wasn't like super excited for it, right? Like I'm not like, oh my gosh, it's Penta, you know what I'm saying? It was more just like, okay, well, Penta versus Chad Gable, it should be a solid match, let's move on. And then the match actually happened. It was pretty decent, I'll be honest with you. I actually enjoyed this match. I do think that the Penta hype is a little bit overblown, but he was solid in this match, you know what I'm saying? He had a great dive outside of the ring. He showed some really good lucha moves like these Hurricane Rana things, and he's like, how do I describe it? He did like a power bomb, like a flip, a senton flip over into like a backbreaker, like Carlito's backbreaker. Really, really good move. He had a lot of good aerial stuff. Chad Gable did a phenomenal job in this match selling moves and doing his own moves with the suplexes, the physicality. Chad Gable is just incredibly underrated, man. Chad Gable's awesome, dude. He's really good in the ring, and he's pretty decent on the mic too, you know what I'm saying? I'm really upset that they quenched this dude's run back in like the middle of 2024. This kid was on a hot streak. He was doing great stuff on the mic. He was doing good stuff as a heel, and he was doing really good matches with Sami Zayn and Bronson Reed and people like that, and it all amounted to him doing absolutely nothing with that run. If anything, he's regressed heavily since then, which is pretty embarrassing, because we know that heading into Mania, he may not even get on the card, and he's likely not going to win a championship, and he's likely not going to be competing in a meaningful match at the show. And he got jobbed out by the Wyatt Six, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that happened like 4 or 3 months ago, so there you have it. But anyways, this match was decent. Nice debut for Penta. Penta ended up winning the match, hitting like this like sick like suplex, like kind of looked like a pile driver finish kind of thing. So it was pretty good. I don't know what it's called. Hate on me if you want. I don't know what the dude's moves are called. It is what it is. Now let's get to the next thing. Liv and Dominic were backstage. I don't really care what Liv Morgan has to say, and neither do you. So we probably should just skip this segment. But basically, to sum it up, Liv Morgan got given flowers by Dominic Mysterio after he tried to give Rhea a hug last week, and she says she's fine and tells Dom to go grab her bags and get the car ready so they can leave. And that's pretty much that. Dominic Mysterio is just basically being treated like a beta, and nobody cares what this dude has to say right now. Until he goes on a singles run and disbands from this awful Judgment Day group, there's nothing he can do. Right? He's just going to have to sit there and get booed, wrestle a match once or twice every other week. And that's pretty much that. There you have it. Then we get Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. There's nothing to really talk about in this match. It's a decent match, but we've seen Sheamus versus Ludwig like 8 times in the last like 6 months. So now it's like, what are we even doing anymore? Sheamus and Ludwig have had better matches than they did tonight, but this match was still decent. Good physicality as per usual. Sheamus deserves a ton of respect for being out here in his late to mid 40s and just putting on absolute bangers after bangers after banger. You know what I'm saying? Sheamus is just awesome, very respectable guy, and he loves the business, so I appreciate Sheamus for that. Sheamus goes out there, puts on a decent match. Braun Breaker is sitting there at ringside, and basically Braun Breaker sitting in the crowd doing absolutely nothing, but Sheamus basically goes up and has a face-to-face with him. Braun Breaker, like, slaps him in the face or punches him in the face. And then, they beef for a little bit, talk a bunch of trash. And now we're going to get Braun Breaker versus Sheamus at Saturday Night Main Event for the Intercontinental Championship. We know Sheamus is not going to win this belt. This is a bigger moment if he does win the belt, right? So they're going to probably save it for a Mania or a SummerSlam kind of PLE rather than just a throwaway, Saturday night show that nobody really cares about, The first Saturday Night Main Event was an absolute disaster. So I doubt that this will be any different. Now, next thing we have is Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins backstage. Basically, Sami Zayn is like, Seth, if you need to talk after last week's, disappointing loss you had versus CM Punk, I'm here for you. And Seth Rollins proceeds to bring up Roman Reigns. He's like, it was a bad week for me, but it was a great week for you. You and your boy Roman, you guys won. Roman got the Ula Fala back. He's the new tribal chief again, and everything's great, right? Instead of doing something for Roman, why don't you do something for yourself? A decent promo from Seth Rollins, decent segment, but the problem is that why is Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, all these people are always complaining about Roman Reigns? I understand that he was champion for 4 years, so the fallout has to be somewhat massive, right? At some point, this stuff that the backlash from everything he's done has to come back to bite him, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. But the problem is that these people have bigger things to worry about. Seth is about to go to the Royal Rumble. Punk is about to go to the Royal Rumble. Drew's about to go to the Royal Rumble, and you were just world champion for 5 minutes at last year's Mania, so maybe you want to make it up and do something meaningful. Same thing with Seth Rollins. You just lost your belt like 8 months ago and haven't done anything meaningful since. So maybe you should focus on yourself before you focus on what Roman Reigns is doing, Because Roman Reigns is only showing up once a month anyways. So you're focused more on the once a month this dude's showing up rather than what actually is happening in front of your face. So there you have it. That's the segment with Seth and Sami. The Miz also cooked Sami in a backstage segment tonight, and it set up a match that they had later tonight. Miz basically tells Sami, Miz is like, when you're thinking about world championships, you're not thinking about Sami. And him and Karrion Kross are laughing. Pretty funny segment, But the bottom line here is basically the fact that Seth Rollins, or Sami Zayn, I should say, and the Miz have a little bit of a dispute because, Sami Zayn says the Miz hasn't done anything. Miz is like, I won 2 world titles, you've won absolutely nothing, which is true. Sami Zayn is a career jobber. At the best case, he's a career mid-card jobber. The Miz is also a mid-card jobber because he has like 20 championships, and 17 of them are probably tag belts or intercontinental belts, so he's also a jobber in his own right, but the Miz is obviously going to go down as a legend because he's one of the best mic workers in the history of the companies. Next after this, we basically get Gunter versus Jay Uso on the mic, of course, because we know Gunter isn't wrestling. I've lost all respect for Gunter, so I don't really care what this dude has to say. I'll just be honest with you guys. Now, the problem here with this is that Gunter actually cuts an average promo. For Gunter, this is a solid promo, but in general, this is like average. He basically says, everyone's talking about who wants to be the tribal chief, the head of the table, the best in the world. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Who wants to be the tribal chief? Who wants to be the head of the table? Who wants to be the best in the world? Who wants to be the revolutionary? Who cares? This championship is the most important thing, and that makes it's really funny that Gunter said that because he hasn't defended the title in like 2 months. So it makes you really wonder, if it's really the most important thing, number one, why is he not showing up to work? He hasn't been on Raw in like 5 or 6 weeks, you know what I'm saying? He hasn't defended his title since the first Saturday Night Main Event, and his first defense since then is going to be at the second Saturday Night Main Event in a week or 2. So it's absolutely egregious how this dude gets away with not defending his title at all, not showing up to work, and cutting mid to below mid promos in 80% of the promos he cuts. It's egregious. It is absolutely absurd how many wrestlers get the Roman Reigns treatment in the Roman Reigns schedule that haven't done 1/10 of the things that Roman Reigns has for the company. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's absolutely, it's egregious, it's ridiculous, it's infuriating, and it makes absolutely no sense. Gunter proceeds to get interrupted by Jay Uso. Jay Uso basically comes out and says, yeet, 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 and Gunter's laughing at this guy because he can't take Jay seriously, that's the storyline. And Jay Uso basically says, you're looking for someone to challenge you for that world championship? How about me at Saturday Night Main Event? I got you, Us. And that's basically that. Gunter basically responds by saying, or laughing at him first. And he's like, you're a joke. You know what I'm saying? And he basically tells Jey Uso, look, it's up to you if you really want this match, but I know you're going to lose this match because I will expose you for the one thing you truly are, which is a great tag team wrestler. And I'm like, yeah, this is a decent one-liner from Gunter. It's not bad. But when you really think about it, Gunter has no respect anymore. This dude's supposed to be the ring general and the ring master, and he's so many great things, and the world title is so prestigious, but most people forgot that Gunter was even on the roster because he hasn't shown up in forever, and his impact is not missed at all. It doesn't matter. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? No one actually was like, wow, man, I really missed Gunter on tonight's show the last 5 weeks. Nobody says that. You ask questions like, yeah, where is this guy? He's the world champion. You know, this title should mean something because he should actually be showing up to work. But if he doesn't show up to work, so what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so what? You know, who cares? So what if he's not on the show? He doesn't add anything anyways, so it is what it is. I've lost all respect for this dude because they tell us he's a workhorse and a great champion in the ring general, but he doesn't show up, he's never in the ring, and he's always in a suit cutting a video promo or in the ring cutting a mid promo like this one anyways. So yes, outside of that one decent line where he brings up Jay being a great tag team wrestler, he didn't deliver anything on the mic, so I don't care about this. Then Jay Uso basically cuts a kind of emotional promo for himself. He's basically saying, you know, he's still trying to earn his respect. It took a lot to get out of the family shadow and the tag team shadow and make my own thing, but now I'm still trying to do it and I'm still trying to gain my respect, and I'm gonna get you to respect me after I whoop your butt, you know what I'm saying, at Saturday Night Main Event. So there you have that. Jay versus Gunter for the for the World Heavyweight Championship. See, I almost said the Intercontinental belt because nobody cares about the world title anymore. It means absolutely nothing. It's an afterthought now on Raw. The biggest thing is Punk and Rollins, and when Roman Reigns shows up, the biggest thing will be Roman Reigns, and then it'll be Punk and Rollins and Cena and all these people being in the Royal Rumble and fighting for Cody's championship, which also means nothing until one of these people challenge for it. The world title is meaningless, and it'll probably be defended versus Seth Rollins or like Sheamus at WrestleMania. Let's be real here. Gunter has no compelling feuds because he's not a compelling character, and he's also a part-timer who doesn't deserve to be a part-timer, and it's as simple as that. And another thing that's absolutely stupid about this, you know, the more I'm talking about this Raw, I'm just realizing how much of an absolute mid-disaster this was, you know. It's actually kind of disgusting when you think about it. The fact is, Jay Uso getting this World Championship match is literally, they just needed to throw out an upper mid-carder for him to fight, so Jay Uso works, he's super over with the crowd, so you might as well throw him out there and see what he can do. You know, that's all this is. Jay Uso's probably not going to win this championship, even though it would be great if he did. It's not going to happen. And even if he did win, what would he do with this championship anyways, right? The only meaningful feuds he really could do are with like Roman Reigns. That's really it, you know, or with maybe like, I don't even know, CM Punk, maybe Seth Rollins, I don't know, but other than that, there's nothing for him to do with the title. So this whole segment was meaningless, it was pointless, and obviously Gunter is going to do something that's pointless because he only shows up once every 6 weeks, and he only shows up for things that mean nothing. So the workload is light, but apparently the recognition needs to be higher. Then we get the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. This match was actually pretty underwhelming in my opinion. Now the reason I have a problem with this is simply because of the fact that the match that Io Sky and like what's her name, and Lyra Valkyria had like 2 or 3 weeks ago was actually a great match. I remember talking about that in the review, and that match was much better than what we got tonight. And I just don't understand why that's even a thing. You know, I just don't get it. This match was still decent, don't get me wrong, it was still a decent match, but I just thought it was going to be much better. They did a crazy gnarly spot where they did a suplex off of the apron, and they both landed hard on the like out on the outside on the apron or whatnot, or not on the apron, on the ground, my bad. I don't know why I'm saying the apron, on the ground. And it was kind of a nasty spot. You know, I'm surprised they pulled all that out for a championship that won't matter in 2 weeks, but anyways, they basically did that nonsense, and then they get back in the ring. Dakota Kai was spamming finishers or spamming her like scorpion kick stuff the whole entire match, and eventually she hit her like, you know, senton like into a backbreaker, similar move to what Penta did earlier, and then eventually she hit her finisher, which is like the GTK, the Gota Kai or whatever, like, oh, the Dakota Kai, the Gota Kai, whatever, nobody cares. She hits the move. Lyra falls out of the ring because apparently her momentum took her out, because every wrestler is just stupid now. Seth Rollins hits a GTS or a curb stomp right next to the ropes and forgets to hook Punk's legs in, so he can't put his legs on the rope to get out, you know, on a freebie. And then now Dakota Kai forgets to hit Lyra Valkyria in the middle of the ring, so she can't just roll out. So there you have that. Lyra Valkyria gets back in the ring. They wrestle around for a little bit longer. Dakota Kai goes for a boot in the corner, and Lyra dodged it. Picks up Dakota for her finisher, which I can't even remember what Lyra's finisher is even called. She hits it. 1, 2, 3. Dakota Kai loses, and not Io Sky, freaking Lyra Valkyria is your first Intercontinental Champion in the women's division, okay? Well, actually, I guess China is really the first Intercontinental Champion if you want to go by the technicalities of it. However, Lyra Valkyria is the first Intercontinental Women's Champion in the modern day, so, you know, there you have that. Good for her, you know, great moment, you know, at least she got to enjoy this moment, and, you know, Lyra Valkyria won the match, and she's been doing solid work in her matches over the last year since she came to the main roster. roster, so good for her. As for Dakota Kai, I remember seeing a clip of her crying on like an IG live or some type of live stream, saying that, oh, I haven't been able to do anything. I haven't been able to win any championships. I haven't been able to wrestle any meaningful matches. And then all of a sudden, now she's losing another meaningful match, and she hasn't had many meaningful matches anyways. And if not, she's unfortunately been getting injured for the most part. So it's kind of unfortunate to see what's happening with her, but maybe she'll get something down the line. Then we had The Miz versus Sami Zayn. Let's be real with ourselves. Nobody cares what happened in this match. Sami Zayn won the match in about like 5 minutes. The Miz looked decent in the ring. Sami Zayn looked decent in the ring, and he won by using the Blue Thunder Bomb. So, there you have that. Sami Zayn cooked in the ring tonight, and who knows, maybe he starts going on a little arc after encountering Karrion Kross and Miz backstage, where now he's basically just going to be trying to prove himself rather than, being just a part of the bloodline that's always there to help somebody else. So, who knows? Then we get Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax in this segment. This is easily the worst part of the night. Rhea Ripley is just not good on the mic. There's a reason they cut her promo short, because she has nothing to say. She doesn't have anything to say. What? I took back my title that I never lost? Yeah! That's all she has to say. I fought back, lived for my title that I never lost, yeah? And I'm gonna take back my title that I never lost, yeah? And now I'm mommy, yeah? And I win your world title, yeah? Like, nobody cares, yeah? How about that? And then after she basically says the stereotypical stuff, it's back to being Monday Night Mommy. Mommy is back on top. I'm your world champion. She gets interrupted by Nia Jax, who gets absolutely booed out of the building like she's Dominic Mysterio. Not exactly sure why this happened. Not exactly sure what the thought process was behind this promo, but apparently Nia Jax is coming to Raw in the transfer portal, which hopefully means that Charlotte Flair or Alexa Bliss or something like that, or someone like that, I should say, will be on SmackDown soon. And that should pick up the slack because they already have Bianca Belair. Jade Cargill will probably be coming back soon as well. So SmackDown's woman division is going to be disproportionately way better than Raw. So they have to at least shovel over at least some of their solid mid-card or upper-card talent in the women's division, like Nia Jax. And I'm sure Bayley will probably be over at Raw as well. Nia Jax basically comes out and says, Rhea, you're not on top. Tiffy Time is not on top. I'm on top. I'm the biggest woman in the division. I'm the best woman in the division. You're not. You know what I'm saying? You're not the best woman in the division. And I have to say, man, the 4th grade insults are so egregious. Nia Jax tells Bayley, she's like, hey, BBL Bayley, you big dumb idiot. Why don't you go ahead and come in this ring? And then Bayley heads in the ring, and then she basically says, hey, Nia, why don't you say it to my face, you big dumb idiot? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is just stupid. What are we in 3rd grade? You big meanie, you big dummy, you big dumbhead, huh? You big idiot face. Like, you like, what are you talking about anymore, right? You jerk. Like, what? Grow up. Why can't the women's division cut any good promos anymore? And it's not that they really had that many good promo workers to begin with, but still, this is embarrassing. Your title reign was, honestly though, low-key, I will be honest with you, Nia Jax's championship reign was a lot better than Rhea Ripley's original championship reign as world champ. So, hey, let's be real with ourselves, right? And then after this happens, Nia Jax is like, I don't care what happens, I'm going into the Royal Rumble, and I will compete for either the world title or the WWE championship, and there's nothing you can do about it. Long story short, Rhea Ripley is not wrestling tonight. She probably won't be wrestling next week, and she will not be wrestling at Royal Rumble. She won't be wrestling at Saturday Night Main Event, and she probably won't be wrestling until Elimination Chamber. Probably bookmark that. She may wrestle one match in between now and Elimination Chamber, and if it does happen, it'll be within the next week or so as a forced match. But after that, she won't be wrestling until the Chamber at best, and that's pushing it. She may not even wrestle at all, for the next 2 months. So who knows? Rhea Ripley does all this. Bayley, it's her hometown of San Jose, California, so she comes in and basically trash talks Nia Jax and says a bunch of nonsense. Nia Jax is like, oh, look, who's scared of BBL Bayley? So we're bringing back that name. No one cares what anyone in this ring has to say. Nia Jax gets double teamed by Rhea and Bayley. They push her out of the ring, and that's the end of the segment. Then we get to the main event. This was a very good main event. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, I thought was actually a very enjoyable and entertaining match, and I think it was solid from start to finish. It had decent storytelling. I thought the spots were great, using tables and chairs and kendo sticks and the fall stuff with the ambulance coming in, or the stretcher or whatever, and the Judgment Day gets involved. The War Raiders get involved. Damian Priest also hit a very sick, spinning South of Heaven to end the match as well and win over Finn Balor. Look, the actual in-ring work rate was just good in this match. This is an entertaining entertaining street fight, okay? They brawled into the crowd. They put each other through that big table on that like superplex Falcon Arrow looking thingy that Damian Priest hit on Finn Balor from the stands onto those announce table. And they did it in a way where you actually thought Finn was kind of hurt for a second, right? So the ambulance picks him up. They're about to carry him out. And Damian Priest says, nah, screw that, you know? And he goes out to the ramp, beats up Finn Balor while he's on the stretcher, and then shoves the stretcher into the apron of the ring so Finn gets hit, beats up Finn some more, sets up 2 tables, and Finn actually starts to counter him and beat him up and hits a crazy coup de grace through the table. That was a really good spot. I really enjoyed that. It looked gnarly. It looked good. And Finn kind of like hit his back on the side of the table that was, you know, the one of the halves that broke off too, which was kind of crazy. And then Damian Priest hit him with the razor's edge through the other table that was out there on the outside. So it was very physical, really good spots, entertaining. This is a kind of like hardcore street fight-esque match that it should have been. And that's exactly what it was. So I absolutely enjoyed this match. I thought it was absolutely great. And quite frankly, you know, looking forward, hopefully Damian Priest and Finn Balor are finally going to be done with this feud. But this match as the closing to this entire nonsensical feud that's been dead since like SummerSlam, basically, it was hyped for a day and then died the day after. You know what I mean? So this is finally over, just like Rhea and Liv is allegedly finally over. And we'll just have to see what's next for Damian Priest and Finn Balor, man. Finn Balor is officially a jobber, though. I think that needs to be accepted by everyone now. You know, Finn Balor doesn't really do anything anymore. This dude basically is there to show up and put on a decent match every 2 or 3 weeks, and that's pretty much that. You know, he's not winning any World Championship gold. He's not going to be in any meaningful matches. And Michael Cole tried to say, oh, this series is tied, and now this is the tiebreaker. This isn't the tiebreaker. Damian beat him in their only one-on-one match they had back in, like, what, on Bad Blood. And that match was like, it was meh. It was a Raw match, really. They did that, and then Damian Priest won. And then Finn Balor has never beat him in a one-on-one since. They haven't even had a one-on-one since. So how is this a tiebreaker, you know? But Damian Priest somehow wins this, or not somehow. He does win this feud like he should have won this feud because it needs to end. And Damian Priest is the rightful winner. He needs to be elevated, but it's sad to see Finn Balor, man. He won that Universal title like around 9-8 years ago, whatever, and now he hasn't done anything since, but, you know, it is what it is. That's how the booking is, and it looks like he's probably on his way out within the next couple of years because there's nothing for him to do now after this storyline. It's the same thing for Damian Priest, so we'll see what happens next. All in all, this wasn't the worst episode of Raw I've seen, but it also wasn't the best, and the more I broke it down, I realized there was a lot more mid or below mid stuff than there was good. The main event was good, the opening segment was solid, the Chad versus Penta match was decent, or actually very solid as well, and the women's IC belt match was decent. Outside of that, everything else was mid or below mid standard garbage on Monday Night Raw. So I'm giving this episode probably between a 5 or a 6 out of 10. It was around the mid/average level, nothing too impressive, a lot of stupid stuff, but some decent stuff as well. Let me know what you thought about this Raw in the comment section below, and as always, I thank you guys for watching and hope you have a phenomenal day. Peace out. One love.